Have you noticed that everything suddenly costs so much? The pair of jeans that you want or the new smartphone that just dropped, everything is ridiculously expensive. While our parents were planning to purchase a home in their 20s, most of the Gen Z can't even seem to afford most part of their rent right now. Even the prices of rent in places like Bangalore and Mumbai are getting so ridiculously high that it seems almost impossible for people to live on their own. Despite being more educated and connected than any generation before them, Gen Z is struggling to build wealth, buy homes, or even pay off their student loans. But why exactly is this happening?
Explain to me in crayon eating terms why I make over 3 times the federal minimum wage and I cannot afford to live.
If Gen Z is aging like milk, because we're the brokest generation.
I'm so broke that it's not funny.
Mortgage rates are pushing 8%, wages are at a 2-year low, taxes are going up.
Gen Z says boomers will never understand today's struggle because they could afford to buy a Cadillac off of a $30,000 salary and be able to qualify for a home. Why can't you just admit that it was easier 30, 40 years ago?
Look, here comes a consequence. Consequences of my actions chasing me right now.
I work 5 days out of the week, 40 hours a week, okay? I do not make enough to live on my own.
First things first, the last 3 decades have seen the introduction of smartphones, internet, social media, and new ways of making money. Many Gen Zers were kids during the 2008 financial crisis. Their parents may have lost jobs or homes, which impacted how they viewed money. This shift no doubt introduced new jobs and opportunities. However, this shift also obsoleted a lot of jobs, making it difficult to find well-paying traditional job roles. So what did this do to people? For starters, a lot of jobs shifted more towards a technical approach. And while Gen Z was still in schools and colleges, they weren't very well equipped with tech. Now here's the thing, tech is constantly evolving. Corporates change their approach every now and then, and this means that keeping up with such change requires you to constantly upgrade your skills. Just a few years ago, we were using these huge monitors running Windows XP and other forms of operating system. Now we are used to huge desktops and millions of new software and apps. In fact, just 2 years ago, ChatGPT and a new wave of AI revolution came into existence. Fast forward to now, 14% of workers in the US have already experienced job displacement of some kind. The growth in tech in just the last 2 decades has played a major role in how jobs are being created. At peak poverty rates in 2011 and 12, almost 1 in 4 Gen Zers lived in poverty. So who's to blame? Just the tech? Well, not exactly. Events like the 2008 financial crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic were huge hurdles for job seeking and adaptation. The 2019 pandemic alone caused mass layoffs, reduced opportunities, and created a hyper-competitive job market. In India alone, 12.2 crore Indians lost their jobs during the COVID lockdown in just 1 month. The cost of living has outpaced wages for decades, and Gen Z is feeling it worse than anyone. For example, data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics shows the real wages, meaning wages adjusted for inflation, have barely budged since the 1980s. Meanwhile, housing prices have soared. According to a Zillow report, the median home price in the US rose by 300% from 1980 to 2023, while wages only increased by about 15% in real terms. And it's not just housing. Gen Z right now spends over 25% of their income on essentials like food and transportation, leaving little room for saving or investing. But wait, colleges and education are supposed to fix this, right? While it's true that Gen Z is the most educated generation yet, with more than 57 pursuing higher education, it comes at a massive cost. The average student debt in the US right now is over $37,000. That's more than double what millennials faced in their early 20s. And it doesn't help that entry-level salaries for recent graduates haven't kept up with this inflation at all. Worse still, some degrees don't guarantee jobs. A study showed that 41% of recent graduates were underemployed, working in roles that didn't require their level of education. This creates a vicious cycle: high debt, low pay, and fewer opportunities to save or invest. This has forced most Gen Z to either find minimum wage jobs or juggle between 2 to 3 jobs at once. Worst of all, despite earning a decent paycheck every month, most students in places like NY are living in unlivable environments and tiny studios. And the rent everywhere is astronomical.
Yo, welcome to my apartment.
Yo, this space is so small. How much do you pay for it?
$650.
What's the square footage?
80 by 150.
You almost couldn't even do an at-home workout in here. That's how small it is.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like a life where you can order anything in just a day with Amazon Prime, have your favorite food get delivered in just 11 minutes, and watch the new iPhones being introduced every year? We're constantly stimulated by the new next product, fueled by influencers who are paid to speak about these things. A study by the Center for Generation Kinetics found that over 65% of Gen Zers feel pressured to keep up with the trends, whether it's fashion, tech, or travel. This often leads to overspending, with 33% of Gen Z admitting that they have made purchases they couldn't afford to avoid feeling left out. And of course, going back to our previous video, the introduction of BNPL has made purchasing everything way simpler and affording everything extremely difficult. But unlike previous generations, where you only compared yourself to your neighbors or co-workers, Gen Z is now comparing themselves to the world: influencers, celebrities, and even complete strangers. You are consuming content from people with rich lifestyles, daily vacations, and slim bodies, and you're constantly undermining yourself, thinking, why don't I look and live like these people? Right now, Gen Z also faces a mental health crisis that heavily impacts their financial decisions and overall stability. Many Gen Zers juggle multiple jobs, side hustles, and educational commitments, leaving them overworked and underpaid. Mental health challenges often lead to impulsive spending as a coping mechanism. For instance, retail therapy and over-reliance on comfort-based purchases can cause debts to pile up, perpetuating a vicious cycle of financial insecurity and emotional distress. But within this struggle also comes a very important silver lining. Gen Z is the most educated, connected, and aware generation the world has ever seen so far. They are not content with the status quo, which means that they question, innovate, and adapt. Their struggles have shaped them into resourceful individuals who are also valuing experiences over possessions, community over competition, and purpose over profit. The journey ahead is definitely not easy, but it is yours to shape. You have the power to redefine what success looks like. So, the world may seem expensive, but the value you as a Gen Z will bring to it is priceless.